The perfect take is no longer lost. Every creator knows the pain. You are testing sounds, half-focused, not recording, and suddenly the room gives you gold. One riff, one vocal phrase, one drum accident. Then it disappears because the red button was never armed. FL Studio 2026 attacks that exact weakness. It quietly captures audio from the master track in the background, then lets you pull it into Edison when you realize something mattered. But that is only the surface. Behind this update is a bigger business story about attention, friction, trust, and why creative software is no longer just selling tools. It is selling fewer decisions. And every new feature asks the same dangerous question: how much control will creators trade for speed? FL Studio 2026.1 arrives less like a feature dump and more like a product strategy. It brings a rebuilt Flex, a transient splitter called Transmitter, cloud project backup, loop starter expansion, workflow changes across the channel rack, playlist, piano roll, and mixer, plus Gopher improvements and deeper scripting support. That sounds like a long list. It is really a map. A map of every place where creators lose momentum. That is the trap. Creative software wins when it reduces hesitation. A menu saved here. A click removed there. A backup handled silently before panic begins. The user stays inside the product longer. The update touches sound design, arrangement, editing, storage, learning, automation, and hardware behavior. That is not random. Momentum is the product, and FL Studio 2026 is designed to protect it before the creator even notices it is slipping away. The first major move is Flex. FL Studio's preset-focused flagship instrument has been rebuilt from the inside. Its promise stays familiar. Polished sounds without forcing users to understand deep synthesis. But underneath, the engine has changed. It now uses improved synthesis and effects processing. And in some updated packs, CPU use can drop by as much as 50%. Larger multi-sample patches, including pianos and orchestral instruments, are also designed to load faster. Speed becomes persuasion. The interface has been redesigned around discovery. But the new layout pushes users toward browsing, testing, and stumbling into ideas faster. For users who miss the old look, themes are available, and Blue Alt sits closest to the previous Flex feel. The patch browser can also be moved to the left. That detail matters, because loyal users hate feeling displaced by progress. Old Flex packs still work in the new version. They just cannot use expanded capabilities unless those packs receive updates. The new Flex also launches with an updated factory library meant to cover the needs of a workhorse synth and sampling engine. That is not just compatibility. That is retention. Then comes Transmitter, a plugin built around transient splitting. It separates the sharp initial hit of a sound from the sustaining body behind it. Each side can be shaped independently, and each can be sent to its own output channel. That means the attack of a snare can be treated differently from its tail. The bite of a piano can be routed away from its resonance. The TSS envelope also becomes available as an internal controller whenever Transmitter is used. A sound's impact becomes a modulation source, not just an edit. That is control hiding inside audio. Loop Starter gets a quieter but important shift. Subscribers to FL Cloud Plus or Pro can pull from a much larger sound library. The goal is not only more loops. It is more unique combinations from the dice system. Its menus now appear through an arrow beside the dice controls, making the feature more visible. Discovery is being engineered. And once discovery is engineered, the next battlefield is trust. The biggest behavioral play may be project backup. FL Studio can now upload project files to FL Cloud from inside the program. It works as off-site backup and helps users move between machines or migrate computers. Every FL Studio user gets 500 megabytes of cloud storage at no cost. FL Cloud Plus, or Pro, can raise that storage to as much as 1 terabyte. The files are private, encrypted, and not used to train AI. Trust is now a feature. That promise is not decoration. In creative markets, users fear being mined. If a product asks people to upload unfinished work, it has to answer one question before pricing matters. Who gets to learn from my ideas? It can now read and alter certain project parameters. Users can ask it to color tracks, sort tracks by name, adjust mixer levels, or change routing. It is being positioned as a studio assistant, but the real goal is workflow compression. Gopher also guides beginners through scripted tutorials found in the help menu, with more promised. It can generate piano roll and VFX scripts on demand, including a script that removes random notes from a score. Interactions with Gopher and creative output are not used to train an AI model. The boundary is explicit. The assistant helps. It does not feed. Small workflow defaults reveal the same thinking. In the channel rack, use both mouse buttons in the step sequencer now defaults to off. But the right mouse button can still delete steps, even when that option is off. So old habits do not break. Channels can now be sorted by type. Sampler channels, instruments or generators, automation clips, and audio clips. Friction kills ideas. Then comes the feature that feels almost emotional, the audio logger. It continuously captures audio passing through the master mixer track and sends captured material into Edison on demand. It mirrors the old idea of dumping a MIDI score log, but for sound. That accidental take can finally be tested against memory. A toolbar chord detection panel now identifies chords from MIDI, typing keyboard input, or selected piano roll notes. Right-clicking adjusts detection delay. Warning messages now use "Remember my choice" instead of "Don't show this in the future." Rename pop-ups are slightly wider. The plugin manager is faster, especially with large plugin collections. Waves plugins can be controlled for re-verification during scans, and rescan all now triggers a warning before very long scans begin. The welcome window adds "Remix a song," which loads and stem separates a track in the playlist with one click. One click can change ownership of a song. The playlist changes target editing fatigue. Audio clips can now be normalized from their gain handles. Selected clips can be normalized individually or relative to the loudest selected clip. Audio clip properties now include panning, so individual clips can be moved left or right without making them unique first. A new cursor separates resizing from stretching when stretch mode is active. If typing keyboard to piano roll is turned off, holding A temporarily switches between resizing and stretching audio clips, much like holding Alt temporarily disables snap. The cursor matters because mistakes compound when the interface lies. Audio and instrument tracks now behave more safely when linked mixer tracks are deleted. FL Studio shows a pop-up asking what should happen to the other connected track components. Automation clips gain reset remote controls, letting automation reclaim parameters manually changed during playback without restarting. Grouped playlist tracks can be collapsed together. Performance mode preparation now includes a panel for marker count and spacing because markers trigger clip stacks. Dropped samples can automatically select their tracks. Browser tabs can show sample waveforms through the header menu. Visual certainty reduces doubt. The piano roll receives practical musical changes. Users can rename keys by right-clicking notes, and note names work across all view modes. Layouts are now accessible from that same menu. Stretching selections from the right handle snaps by default, while Alt gives unsnapped stretching. This matches broader editing logic. The chord stamp tool adds top-down and bottom-up modes with voice leading. Top-down lets the clicked note become the highest chord voice, building harmony underneath a melody. Bottom-up chooses a chord based on where the user clicks, pushing faster idea generation. The chord progression tool now previews chords from the computer keyboard, starting at C5 when typing keyboard to piano roll is active. A chord notch setting lets users swap chords by dragging or slide following chords like familiar piano roll behavior. MIDI or scoresheet exports now default to the project data folder when set. Otherwise, the user folder scores location is used. Music theory is becoming interface behavior. The mixer trims more clicks. Clicking an empty effect slot now opens only the plugin selection menu, not the larger effect menu full of unrelated choices. Selected mixer tracks can open Edison and record directly through mixer menus, Luxaverb adds pitch feed forward, where pitch-shifted audio entering the reverb is not fed back into the feedback section, producing cleaner tails in some cases. The plugin wrapper and channel settings menus gain a replace option using the plugin database. MIDI out adds a send program change toggle to prevent certain hardware synths from switching presets unintentionally. FL Studio Mobile gains an SF2-compatible sound font player and a note arpeggiator for rhythmic, repeating, repetaged patterns. Edison scripts no longer recompute on accept when a preview already exists. Patcher can show latency and CPU statistics inside modules. FPC can create layers by dropping multiple samples onto one pad. The video player holds the final frame after video playback ends. DirectWave supports multiple zone selection with shift-click. Emphasis disables low latency when instant recovery is active, because that process needs more latency. These are tiny fixes with large user memories, because users remember the moment a tool broke their flow. MIDI scripting expands with dirty flags for undo and redo, pattern length functions, pattern length incrementing, plus get swing and set swing for channel rack swing values. Built-in MCU Mackie Control Universal support is replaced by a customizable MCU MIDI script. On macOS, Apple Silicon performance improves through Apple's Audio Workgroups API, helping audio threads share a deadline and reducing underrun risk during sudden CPU spikes. Audio unit plugins now appear at the end of the More Plugins list by default, nudging VSTUs for cross-platform compatibility. That is design warfare. The real story is not that FL Studio 2026 has more buttons. It is that the product is learning where creators hesitate, panic, forget, mistrust, and quit. Flex reduces sound search cost. Transmitter turns audio detail into control. Backup lowers fear. Gopher lowers setup time. The audio logger attacks regret. Chord tools attack theory friction. Playlist and mixer changes attack death by tiny clicks. This is how modern creative software competes. It protects attention before competitors steal it. It also balances automation with reassurance, especially through privacy, encryption, and clear AI boundaries. Lifetime free updates keep the relationship alive after purchase, but speed keeps users returning. The lesson is brutal. The winning product is not always the one with the most features. It is the one that makes the next idea feel safe enough to chase. Because creators do not just fear bad tools, they fear losing the moment they were finally ready. And FL Studio 2026 is built around one promise. The idea should survive, even when you forget to press record.